Good evening from Tel Aviv. Secretary of State John Kerry is in Israel again. This is his third visit since becoming Secretary of State in his almost hopeless attempt at trying to bring about a peace agreement, or at least get peace talks going between Israel and the Palestinians. It seems at this time in space, Israelis, and to some extent Palestinians, look at this and say, is it possible at this point in the history of the Middle East, with Sunnis and Shiites fighting and killing each other daily, with unrest on all of our borders, to reach a peace agreement with the Palestinians? On one hand, everyone knows it's needed now more than ever. On the other hand, it seems less likely today more than ever. Three news stories today in the Israeli press underline how difficult it will be to reach some sort of peace agreement. On one hand, a report came out on the final meeting held between former Prime Minister Olmert and Abu Mazen right before Olmert was forced to resign. The report showed how far Olmert was willing to go, even to the extent of giving a full map of where Israel was willing to pull out of, which was pretty much 100% of the West Bank, in return for exchanges of territory. He could not get Abu Mazen to sign even his name to the map, and at that point, he waited for a response from Abu Mazen, which never came. Top of which, the news came of the beheading that took place yesterday in London. Now, in some ways, it's not at all related. On the other hand, one sits in Israel and hears about a beheading by Muslim extremists on the streets of London, and one wonders, what sort of peace can we reach to people who just behead people in the streets of London? And finally, the news today was about demonstrations, or I should say riots, taking place in Sweden. Sweden, that far-off, quiet land, and yet it's being rocked by demonstrations by Muslim immigrants. It's so hard to figure out where we go from here. We all know we need peace. On the other hand, who do we make peace with, and how do we make peace? In unrelated news today, the Peri Commission, which was responsible for developing a plan for the service of Haredim in the army, or as they call Shivyon Banetel, equalization of the burden, came out with its report today. That report and suggestions is complicated. It basically calls for all but 1,800 Haredim to be drafted when they reach the age of 21, drafted either in the army or go into civilian service. However, there are no personal consequences if you don't get drafted. And as one knowledgeable Israeli correspondent said, the only thing less realistic about forcing the Haredim to go into the army based on this plan is expecting the Haredim to go into the army willingly under any other plan. So it leaves everyone with a sour taste and an unknown future as to the whole question of sharing the burden. Finally, tonight I'd like to leave you with this picture. This is a picture that I took last night while out for a bicycle ride. It shows Rabin Square, where I've attended many demonstrations in the past year. This is a picture of 1,000 dolls. Dolls of kids, babies, etc., who show like they've been abused, that they've been hit. And it was put out there last night by the Israeli Society Against Abuse of Children. Now, it's not exactly one of Israel's largest problems, thank goodness. However, it does take place here, and it takes place here in many different areas of the society. And this was an attempt to get publicity to the issue. And I have to say they succeeded tremendously. I'm just a minor place they're getting publicity. Today, the newspapers covered it, the television covered it, a very effective way of bringing the light to a troubling phenomenon that exists here as it exists everywhere in the world. Good night from Tel Aviv. This is Mark Schulman.